My name is Scotty Buckmaster. I am a nationally known artist, nationally known decoy carving artist. I am a retired teacher, and I am also a cemetery sexton. So I have a lot of different things that I enjoy doing during the year and a lot of different hats that I wear. Anyway, I have brought this all together. I'm trying to create for people a place, a resource to find information on how to carve decoys for spearfishing. So what I've done, I have a YouTube channel, and on that YouTube channel I will be having images and pictures and just activities for people to do that deal with spearfishing. I will have camera footage from underneath the ice watching the pike actually strike on decoys. I'm going to have cataloged instances of my lives that I go on so that people can come and actually Tuesdays from 6 to 7 typically people will be able to come and actually carve with me if that's something that they want to do, or they'll be able to on a Zoom at the same time. They'll be running concurrently. They'll be able to ask me questions or see if there's things that they can do better, or maybe they'll be able to share with me and show me how to do something better. So I got into decoy carving. I retired. I enjoy keeping myself busy. So I went to a class that was offered here at the Carl T. Johnson Center in Cadillac, Michigan. The particular type of decoy carving that I'm going to be doing, at least for the first series that I do, it's going to be dealing with the Cadillac style. Okay, it's a very specific style, and it's attributed to the preeminent master carver Oscar Peterson. And I am part of that carving lineage, as the people that taught me were people like Nelson, Alfred Williams, Bob Weesey, and Jim Anderson. The thing is that all of them had some type of a first-person tie to Oscar Peterson. So I am part of that, and I'm very proud of it. And I'm hoping to help share the lineage and just the history of decoy making, which I have done. I was recently, I did a real nice presentation with the Michigan Historical Society. So the thing is, I just want to be available to those of you that are interested in this. If it's something that you think that you can get involved with or that you're interested in, please come visit me, visit my YouTube channel. All that information is going to be available in this actual video. Please come to those places, talk to me, ask me questions. That's why I'm here. Thank you so much. I look forward to meeting with many of you. Take care. Again, welcome. The first video here of my series, I was going to be dealing with some of the cutting utensils that are available for you to do this. You may think that you need to have something fancy, but that's not how I started. When I started, and most of the gentlemen that are still carving, many of them use just simple utility blades. They use these utility blades, and they also use a craft knife, or what's known as an X-Acto blade. These blades are nice. They're incredibly sharp. You can replace them. You can actually sharpen them or hone them, strop them as would be. So you can all do that as well. But these are the ones that I started with. And in mentioning that, when I initially started, I started with just these two things. I am going to make a suggestion to everyone that's going to be carving, and whether you're carving little tiny gnomes or you're carving some of these spear fishing decoys like the ones that I do. And I can't stress this enough, but they do make these cut-proof knives. They will help the entire process. But when you are working with knives, if you are at all possible, if you can, I would suggest having one of these so that you're able to actually, not worry as much about this. I do need to tell you that I actually did, when I was going along and starting, I cut myself. And I'll tell you, you don't want that kind of a $400 bill and just the indignity of going in to talk to a nurse to have her stitch you up. The whole thing is, though, safety. You want to make sure that you're being safe with these. These are incredibly sharp. All of these knives are going to be sharp. All these utensils, these tools that we're going to be using to actually carve and shape wood, they're going to be sharp. You want them sharp. That's the best way to have them. But as you're doing it, you need to have this glove, okay? Some type of glove, something to protect your hands as you're going. On a lighter note, I was really proud when I cut myself. The nurse said it was the cleanest cut that she had ever seen. I take great pride in keeping my knives incredibly sharp. So that would be my suggestion. If you're going to start, you can start with these. Just make sure that you have yourself a good glove of some type, something that's going to protect you from the slicing of your skin. You don't want to go through that. It's no fun. I've been there. That would be my biggest suggestion, I guess, of this whole process as you're going along. So easy enough to start with your knife, just a utility blade and an X-Acto blade. So easy enough to start with those. These next couple of knives I'm going to be sharing with you, these are referred to as fixed blades. I prefer, with my fixed blades, these bigger ones that I use, these are ones that I quite often take with me to work. I work, again, I mentioned it at the beginning of this video, I worked as a sexton, and I enjoy on my lunch break as well as on my my breaks, morning and afternoon breaks, I enjoy carving, and these are quite often a couple of the knives that will be in my little work case. This one is actually called a Hell 9. It is from Norway. It's a beautiful blade. The handle looks a little bit unorthodox, but that's okay. I thought it was odd when I got it. I received this beautiful gift from my father-in-law. This blade, when you go to grab it, your hand, the way that it wraps around it is just, it's great. The way it feels, the way that it functions in your hand, the way that you're able to bring the wood into it and make your cuts. It also goes to a very fine point, exceptionally sharp. I've never had to sharpen it. I strop this blade often, as well as my other blades that I use for carving. This particular blade, though, I really I appreciate it a great deal. Just the way that the form, the function, the fit, everything about it is a wonderful, wonderful knife. This other one that I have, this is a finished knife, so it's similar. I actually purchased this one on a trip up into the UP. This knife, while it has a very similar blade style, the handle is a little bit more form-fitting, but again, it fills my hand very nicely, and for the cuts that I need to make with it, those cuts, a lot of times I use these for a lot of wood removal. So when I am making the cuts on the back of the actual fish, cutting it out of the block of wood, I find that these bigger knives tend to work better. They help the entire process move along. As you're using your knives too, you do want to be stropping them, and I'm going to go over that probably at the end of this video. But keep them in their case if they have it, or keep them protected. If you're not using the blade, put something over it, so either somebody walking by won't brush up against it, or if it rolls off of a table that you might be working on, which hopefully it doesn't, but if it did, that would protect it somewhat, being in the case. So you kind of want to do that with your blades. I mean, these are your tools of the trade. You want to make sure that you're using them correctly and that you're keeping them safe as well as yourself. This this right here is another kind of representation of the type of knife that you can get. I found these at a yard sale. They were not used very much. And when I purchased them, I saw them as an opportunity to get a knife set that kind of was good for travel. And again, this is one of those kind of sets that I keep in my little lunch box that I take to work with me so that I always have access to them. They did not come with protective covers, so I actually made these covers. They were fairly simply made. I made a space for the actual blades. Inside of these, I also put little tiny neodymium magnets in them. So these are actually magnetic. So when they go in, they're magnetically attached. So when I slide that in, they fit nice, they stay on, they aren't going to be sliding off, and they're going to protect that blade. But there's a couple of different styles of blades that I have in this small set. If you go online, there's other brands that have knives that are very similar. They have similar form, function, similar handles. This one would be a little bit more for chunking out wood, getting rid of bigger cuts of it. This would be more for the detail. And quite often I use this type of a gouge. I use this type of a gouge to establish things like the gill plates on the fish. So this type of a V gouge, it helps a great deal with just kind of establishing some of the line work that you might be cutting into. It gives a place for the blade to actually stop when you're making your cuts. So I find that to be a great deal of help. But these as a set, fairly good for an entry-level knife. I do enjoy them. They're very sharp, and they hold an edge very well. So I do enjoy these this particular brand, which is Flex Cut. But like I said, there are similar ones that are like this, and it's an entry-level knife. It's a good knife. It'll get the job done. This next group of knives are produced by a company named Warren. They have a chuck on them that actually accommodates, if you can see, it accommodates a large blade insert or a smaller blade insert, and it simply turns and loosens that chuck for you. I have kind of a selection of different types of knives that you can get. Again, they all have different jobs to do. Some of them can get into real small details. Some of them carve one direction, another direction for the others. This is what a large part of the knife looks like. This is where it would slide in. It inserts here. Once it's inserted, tighten that right up. And I do know that this is the preferred knife of a gentleman by the name of Bob Weesey. Bob does absolutely beautiful work, but I know that he's got one of these. I was kind of startled when I saw that he had one, just because I had found this one. I happened upon this one at an antique shop. I spend a lot of time in antique shops. Found that one. This particular handle, I found in another gentleman who was a decoy worker in his estate sale. This again, I have the small, the large. They also come with gouges. You can purchase gouges for them, and they work very well. And again, this is a high quality tool. All of these are. Comes with plastic handles like this. You can also get, this one is in a walnut actually handle. But again, I travel with these knives quite often. I really enjoy working with this particular knife. It's a good knife to have. It's a good entry level, again, knife. They're incredibly expensive, but they do a wonderful job. And I think that probably the main draw of these is that there's an incredible amount of variation in the actual blades that you can use. So you can find something that works well for you that you can insert into this tool, and you can just continually use it. So it's really a nice, kind of a nice little beginner set to have. It just gives you a lot of options and a lot of abilities that just having one knife blade is not going to necessarily give you. This next group of knives that I wanted to discuss, these are pocket knives. A lot of people already have them. You don't have to necessarily have a fancy pocket knife to do these things. There are knives that are made specifically for whittling. They're called whittlers, that's the pattern. And typically what you're going to end up with a whittler, and this is a very cheap model. This is produced by a company named Rough Rider. But this particular knife, generally what you have, it's called a split back whittler. If you look, you have two springs that start here, but they melt into one basically. They become one spring down here at this end. And what that does is it tends to lock that main blade, which you're going to be putting a lot of force on when you're carving. It puts a lot more force down on it, and it makes it harder for it to disengage. And then this particular knife, it's hard to get it because I got my glove on. I may actually just take that glove right off. This particular knife, I go into it. It's nice because it has different style blades on it. So I've got this bigger blade for kind of chunking things out. I got this smaller blade here. You know, this will be for doing a little bit of details. And then I've got another one. The smaller blade, when I'm using that, there we go. When I'm using that, it's a smaller pointed blade. So again, more detail. Rough Rider is a fairly inexpensive brand, but you know, as a pocket knife, thing's perfect. I carry this one, or I have another small whittler that I occasionally will throw in my lunchbox to have, just in case I want to do something, or I might be able to just kind of grab a piece of wood and whittle away on it a little bit. When you're picking your knives, if you're going to use a pocket knife of some type, I do suggest having some type of a knife that gives you multiple blades, something that's going to give you the ability to make different cuts or use the blades in different ways. So this particular blade, this is a cattleman pattern, and what I have right here, this is an Ulster. So this is probably from like the 1950s. Right in that time frame. We have some bone scales on it. But this particular knife, I have a very large knife that would help for the chunking out of wood. I have a smaller knife. Again, this is going to be, as they get smaller, it kind of is nice to work in details. This one works really well for cutting into things, like when you're doing details in the mouth. You're able to push it in a little bit different angle than you typically would. So this one functions well in that manner. And then the last one's kind of a flat. It's a Warncliffe sheep's foot type style. And this one is nice just because it really comes to quite a fine point. So I can get a lot of wood off and do a lot of kind of smoothing of the actual the decoy with it. So they function nicely that way. I do prefer a larger knife though. This is kind of at the bottom end of what I consider a good knife, at least for my hand. So I have these bigger bodied pocket knives that I carry with me. My number one pocket knife is this one. This is the one that I typically use if I'm just out and about and I want to do some decoy carving. This is what is called a congress, a full congress. Part of the reason they call it a Congress is because you have 4 blades on this, and they all kind of meet in the middle there, like Congress is supposed to do. This gives me a multitude of different blades, blade sizes, blade types that I'm able to use at my leisure when I'm actually carving. So it's nice to have something like this where I have multiple choices. I'm able to hold it. It goes into my hand very well. And I wanted to bring kind of an example so you could see what it looks like when you get a smaller Congress. This is a small Congress by Case. This one was by Boker. And again, I think I mentioned this one was from Ulster. This one was actually a gift to me from a very dear friend of mine, Scott Benson. But all of these knives, they'd all work. This is just, for me personally, too small. But again, it's great just for the simple fact that it gives me a bunch of different blade styles, types to work with. It's really, and it's nice to have that bag of tricks when you're trying to carve and you're trying to cut with a knife, to actually just have what you need there. So that's kind of why I went over this. I wanted to show just different options for knives. I was going to finish up with this. I am going to talk a little bit here in a moment about also about stropping and sharpening. I'm not going to show you about sharpening, but we are going to talk a little bit about stropping. So we have that. This last cutting utensil I wanted to talk about, this is actually just a small hatchet. It's nice to have something like this. Quite often, if I'm out and about and I see a down piece of wood that I think would make for a good decoy, I'm able to use something like this to retrieve that piece of wood. This particular one that I have, I do carry this on me in some way, shape, or form. I have a holster for it. I also have this particular one, this hatchet. It fits right into my lunchbox, so I always have it with me. But this is nice. This is called a marble safety axe. It comes out of Gladstone, Michigan. I actually, when I found it, it was in pretty rough shape. I replaced the scales on it with, these are horn. And I found a repop for the actual guard. So I have a guard for it. And this is the way they were made. And they were called a safety axe, obviously, because of the fact that your blade gets covered. But they're nice to have if you're out and about and you're trying to find wood to use to do your decoy carving. You may come across a down branch, which is something that I have done before. I do like to kind of, when I'm up at work at the cemetery, I enjoy if I find a downed piece of wood that I think would make for a good decoy. I like getting that and using it from up there. Just to me, it's kind of that whole circle of life. Plus, Oscar Peterson, who is kind of the ground zero for a lot of decoy carvers, his particular grave is up there, and I have retrieved from down branches near his grave pieces of cedar that I have made decoys from. So to me, it's just it's a nice way to kind of honor him when I take the down wood that I do find up there. It's a nice way to honor him. But I like having some type of a hatchet or something just a little bit larger that'll help me to get pieces of wood that might be viable pieces of wood for my projects that I do. This is kind of my travel strop. I use this for honing and just reestablishing edges on my knives. It will travel with me in my lunchbox. It will also travel in my little toolbox that I have. That at some point, one of these will kind of go over some of the other tools and resources that you may want doing these decoys, just what's available. For this particular one, What I did is I found, and I believe this was just a sample for some wood. It's fairly old, from 1998. But this sample, what I did is I took 2 pieces of leather. This is veg tan leather. And I used a spray adhesive for the backing. So I sprayed them, attached them to it. These 2 are just kind of like bumpers. I screwed those into the actual wood. One side of the leather is rough. The other is the smooth side up. This is rough side up. I have these here because it allows me to, at least with my hand and my hand size, I'm able to grab on here and I can hold on to this when I'm using this to actually hone my and strop my blades. So I'm going to bring back, this is my hell nine that I had from the beginning of this little presentation that I'm doing. With this, what I will do is I will take this and I will actually, I get this down onto the leather, and you can rock it and you can feel when it is parallel, the cutting edge or the cutting part of the blade is level with this. The dirtiness on this is actually what is called jeweler's rouge. It's basically like a diamond paste that gets put onto the rough side of it. And the rough side holds onto that diamond paste. And what happens is when I tilt this, which I just tilted it forward, so now I'm on the actual blade, I can take that and I'm going to draw it back and I decrease it as I come down here. So what I've done is I've basically righted that very edge, the cutting edge of this knife. And to do the other side, you don't want to push on it. You're going to be pulling, okay, for when you have the blade. So the blade's here. I'm going to pull this back. For the other way, I'm going to take it and I have flipped this blade over, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to push it on this side. So I'm going to push and pull as I go. And it's kind of riding that edge. And it's just rewriting any nicks or any imperfections that may be in that blade, that edge of that blade. But it keeps a very nice sharp blade. I would do it on that side, reestablish the edge. Then I come back here, and that blade right now is just razor sharp. So, and that's what you want when you are working with a decoy. It's when that blade sticks, when you will find that blade jumps, and that's when you're going to end up getting cut. So quite often, and it's kind of just I guess a rule of uncut thumb, the sharper that it is, the better off that you're going to be. I will use this on my pocket knives as well. And again, I'm pulling that back. Because this is a flat blade, I'm able to just draw straight across. I don't have to kind of move it this direction so that it actually is working the edge on the drop points like that. But and then I can roll this over and I can get the same side. Do the same thing. I'm just rewriting any imperfections that are in that blade, and this blade is just wicked sharp right now. So I do that quite often as I am actually carving. So as I'm carving, I'll carve for about 15 minutes or so, and then I'll strop or sharpen the blade that I am currently using, just to make sure that it's going to always be ready for me when I want to use it. I would like to quickly thank you for joining me today. I'm hoping that you will find some usefulness in this series that I'm going to be doing. The next series, or part of the series that is coming up, I'm going to be going over some of the resources as well as the other tools that you may find useful to have around for actually doing this and decoy carving projects. So I'm going to be doing that. I would like to remind you at this time that I do have the opportunity to come carve with me. It is going to be happening on Tuesdays from 6 till 7. If you join that, you're going to be joining on my YouTube channel. You'll want to join on a Zoom meeting, which I will always be giving a Zoom meeting address. And you will also want to probably friend me on Facebook. That way you can kind of keep up, because that's where I'm going to be dropping a lot of my information about what's happening, or if there's been a change in a schedule of some type. I want people to, I guess, connect with this history. These Cadillac Style decoys are kind of a dying thing, and I don't want to see that happen. I want to see this get carried into the future for future generations to appreciate. So again, I appreciate it. I hope you're able to join me on my weekly meetups, and I am hoping that you find some usefulness in my presentations. Thanks again.